Hey, man. Uh, yeah, can you hear me? Oh, great. Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm never sure because no, I do see it now. I was about to say something, but I just didn't have all the information. There is a little audio indicator at the bottom of my screen, so I can see. Because before, I know when I did this, I could never tell if there was an audio output, but now they've added the feature, so there you go. Awesome, man. Oh, hey, Patricia, what's new? All right. Hello, hello. Yes, I'm just waiting to see if anybody else is going to come in. I was thinking earlier just about experience and not experience, but just in a shallow form, but experience as in you get up, you have an experience throughout the day, you go to sleep, and then when you wake up, is that experience depending on how much you've allowed yourself to be kind of encased in the system, is it such a shallow experience that it is almost guaranteed to be a mirror of the previous day. So you're basically living your own kind of Groundhog Day, you know. Although there may be a lot of details within the Groundhog Day, it still winds up to being basically what you did today is exactly what you did with slight variation yesterday. It's just kind of it takes a life of potential and just narrows it down to just a corner of this existence that we have access to. So I was thinking earlier, why did at a point in my life I go from a let's say a high income comfortable life to where you exist outside or elevated above another group of people, which is above another group of people, which works its way all the way down, the so-called social ladder. And so you find yourself when you have a certain income and a certain housing stature that you then fall within this framework of society which has been laid out for you, if that's what you choose to do. But as I noticed, as I was was let out of that kind of emotional lifestyle prison by Christ, I noticed that my material fortunes here dwindled, to where I went overseas for a long time, and the money I did have, which I knew was just going to disappear into the system if I did it in the U.S. They would have just gotten me for this, that, and the other thing, and it would have just gone nowhere. So when I went overseas, I actually put out cash in hand. So once the job was done, I laid out the income. So I employed a barrio for close to a year this way. All the able-bodied men, which were my family, really, the family of my wife in the Philippines. But what I did was to leave an infrastructure for them. We built houses, we built the store, we built the boats, and then those were turned into their business, meaning that became a new level of experience or existence in this place. Meaning that instead of going somewhere to work, that they make their income right there at home, and then they're able to build, a better relationship with their family, this, that, and the other thing, because they're there now. They don't have to run off to Manila, which is, you know, 11 hours away on a bus, and then work some construction gig, and then and never see your family, but maybe 6 months out of the year when you come home for fiesta, something like that. So, anyways, that's what I did with that experience. I said, I know I have this amount of income, and I already know through being led by Christ that world is not for you. So of course I'm walking away. I'm not even looking back. However, I know that the monetary gain I gained from that experience is going to then dwindle as I leave, because that belongs to that system. That's not my money. It was just money that was given to me while I was experiencing that life, right? Which was really, let's just say, existence, because life is bigger than life is not only the physical manifestation of a heartbeat and a pulse and blood flow, but it's the spiritual interaction with the world. And like I was talking to you last week, most people's frequency is so low that they experience what I told you before, is that groundhog experience, to where one day leads to 1 week, to 1 month, to 1 year, and next thing you know, you're saying, wow, time flew and I didn't do anything. Right? So anyways, man, that's what I was thinking about this morning as I was getting up. I just wanted to share that with you. I mean, I can go on and on, because as you look at, because I like to take the thought, the idea, okay, and like I was thinking earlier, there's a cartoon which draws a light bulb above a guy's head, and that's to indicate, oh, that person has an idea. So then most people will stop at the cartoon and say, okay, that person has an idea, and then do whatever, and walk away and have the next engagement, instead of looking at, okay, now let's take that idea and actually look at it. What was the idea, and does it even mean anything? So that's why you test and experience everything in your life before you confess it to somebody else as being a matter of fact, a truth in this so-called English language, a truth. And then so you ask, what is truth? Well, truth is your spiritual and your physical experience combined through observation as being a repeatable fact in this existence. So I know if I put the nut on the bolt, making sure, of course, because there's always caveats in life, that the threading's right, it's either standard or metric, and that your nut is, of course, formed so that it can become part of that reality. Because if it doesn't conform to that reality and you try and screw it on, it will strip the bolt or the screw of its existence as it damages it. So you see that there's always a spiritual lesson to be learned from the simplest activity that we go through every day. If you then, again, back to the cartoon, if you liken that to the light bulb and exploring exactly what you just did with that physical interaction with existence. What did I just do? Did I hold something to the wall? And did I do a good job, or the job well done, that's going to allow that to be safely affixed to the wall? Make sure I didn't add any element of risk to the environment, meaning that if I did a bad job and that happens to fall, it may actually physically damage somebody because of my lack of integrity, or my lack of appreciating my interaction with the existence, meaning that I did not appreciate what these parts were engineered to do. And had I done them correctly, the job would have, of course, alleviated that future harm, or injury, which actually hurts. You bang your arm on something, it hurts, man. So you got to remember that. So anyways, I can finally read, because I grabbed my glasses, so I can read to say what everybody's, or read what everybody's writing here. All right, yeah, so everybody's just chilling, so that's cool. Yeah, me too. I'm just looking out the window. It's a little overcast, but here in this area, it's humid. So it's hot and it's humid, and I don't know, you just think of and this goes again to the idea of essence. You think that your body then experiences all those indicators, and then it reacts to what will best suit you for comfort, meaning that you might break a sweat, which of course then when the air blows across, it cools you, and it gives you that kind of natural cooling. So your body is interacting perfectly with the environment. Or let's say it gets even colder and you start to shiver, that's telling you that you need to put something on, to fight against that loss of energy. out to really a negative void, because the environment outside of you is it's an atmosphere, right? So it's taking from you. So that's why you have to constantly pay yourself first, meaning that you should eat and drink whatever it is that makes you feel right, you know, whatever that is, whatever type of diet you want to go with. But because if you allow yourself to be fully filled with nutrition wise, then you will be able to experience, let's say, sleeping properly, getting up, having energy, and using all those available hours that you do have during the day. If that's even a good way to say, that it's just time between, light and dark, but that daylight time that we call. Did you experience your best experience because you were full of energy, and so you were constantly giving out and using your nighttime, or when you can lay down and relax, to properly allow yourself to regain that energy? Because I just think that a fully experienced day like I had yesterday was great. And it's not that I did a lot. I in fact relaxed mostly, but it was that the interaction of the people around me was such that as I went to each person and talked to them, I just chilled out, man, and I listened to their experience. Like, because I was really exploring the idea of experience, and I wanted to really just put that into motion. So I talked to these people, and they just told me what they were up to and what they were doing. And I said, yeah, that's awesome. And then I would kind of go back and forth and then move to the next person, because there was a lot of people there. It's just everybody was chilling. And yeah, so I learned a lot yesterday just by, and I don't even want to say learn, because that's a word that's charged and it's been misused. Think of a balloon that just is you're allowing to be filled freely, and it's just ever expanding, and it always surprises you that it's bigger than you ever thought it would be. So these truths we're talking about, they're so big that if you only gave it literally a few seconds of thought or time, your precious time, then you didn't actually fully explore it. Therefore, you didn't reap all the benefits that you could have gotten from it, right? It's like taking the time to harvest a tree. If you do it in a minute, you may get 10 fruit off of it. But if you take the time, you pick it clean of what's ripe, and then you leave it in a state that's going to replenish better for you, because you've allowed the cycle to work, because you took the time to observe the full thought of that action you were taking. So anyways, let me see if anybody's asking something. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, so everybody's just relaxing. See, that's what I like. I like talking with people who, if you could spend all day with them and nothing of the false, fake, media driven, that kind of interaction, social type media interaction, what people bring to you when you're working. It's at the point to where everybody is discussing real existence and real life, meaning what they did yesterday, what they did this morning. Whether, and it could be a negative or a positive. It could be that they burnt their toes, so I'm like, oh yeah, man, I hate that, because it stinks up the house. And then everybody has that shared experience, but it's a real experience, and thus the energy is always a positive, even if it's a negative, because you're always laughing at the facts, right? You laugh at yourself. But then you go the entire day, from early in the morning till late afternoon, where finally people are like, oh yeah, it's probably best we have to go and kind of do, spend time doing something else. But it's like you're there all day, and you've talked about nothing but real experiences. So there is no bickering. There's no negative energy, because that's everybody's real witness. That's everybody's true witness, I should say. So that there is no contention. So that's what makes a social party, especially when, in this instance, it was at a public park, so we didn't have any type of booze or anything. It was just, most of us don't drink anymore. We're all kind of ex-military, have had kind of had that life, and then decided or led. I say decided, but I know better now than that I was led away from um, that type of lifestyle, or that, over drinking things like that. So anyway, it was just a natural energy, because there was probably, I don't know, 8 women, female, uh, 4 or 5 men, right? So there was that constant interaction between people back and forth. My wife was actually uh, at work, so we're having a second get together today as soon as she gets home, and we're going to cruise on over there, and we're going to, kind of do this same thing. But everybody's actually making something, and being that all these people I'm talking about are from the Philippines, it's I'm I'm having I don't want to say it, but I'm living like a king, because I just sit there, and I just talk to people and tell my story, and I'm getting international dishes spread across the table. It's like a buffet every single time this happens. So I'm living like a king in this experience, and I'm really enjoying it. So even though the it's at the level of everybody kind of helping each other to the next day, because we help a lot of people in the Philippines who are still kind of in the life of it's I don't equate poverty in the United States with poverty overseas, because a lot of that is not just people who decided to leave home, but it's people who never knew any other existence than that. So there's a lot of joy there, and there's a lot of uh, laughter and shared experience, but it comes at the cost of just basic survival. So that's where that difference falls into. As you make money, you kind of get into that fake and false world. You're given a lot of comfort for that, meaning that you get paid back comfort and relaxation, and a guaranteed place to stay. But you've given up um, your free thought. At least if the position you're in makes you or forces you to teach the company line, or the so-called given history. Um, like in the position I'm at now, I'm basically a handyman at a hospital. So not only do I get the interaction with the people who are staying there, but I fix, the electrical, the plumbing, the AC type work, the high vac, HVAC. Um, but that's what I do. There's just 2 of us, and it's like we just go around fixing stuff. There's an absolute correct way to fix things. There's a correct way to perform preventive maintenance. These are all proven things that over time people have passed on to their apprentices, and say, you know what, I've been doing this however amount of time, and this works right here. Try this. And guess what? If it's a good way to do it, you keep it. If you have a better way to do it, you do it the better way. But like I say, everybody improves through that shared experience of maintenance. Well, see, like let's say maintenance in my aspect is physically happening on product, but on spiritual maintenance is allowing yourself to give yourself time to explore full thoughts, and do that when you're out of work, or when you're off, and when you're just relaxing, instead of uh, bothering yourself with all the hoax nonsense that's going on. That's going to happen, because in order to get to the the room that we're in right now, we're talking, in order to get to this level of frequency, you have to have quieted your mind enough to allow truth to come in, meaning that you've walked away from that external influence, that the lie of media, and what's, for lack of a better term, called Hollywood, which Hollywood, of course, we know it's a physical place in a few states, but it's a bigger idea than just a physical place. It's an idea of controlling entertainment, or so-called entertainment. So you have people who go to work, and they go back and forth with each other with the so-called social media that incorporates all the lie hoaxes that keep people in a state of fear, hopelessness, really, because they they consider themselves completely at the mercy of a terrorist or a guy who's going to come in and shoot up the place. So they are in a state of hopelessness because without the power structures supplying them, these, and you see it in the picture every time. These women, quote unquote women, and these overweight dudes running down the street in these vests, that don't even fit, and the helmet like hanging off their head, and they're running around with an AR-15 or whatever they're carrying, and it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is a poorly written script, because I'm not buying the fact that this guy and this so-called woman, quote unquote, is going to protect me from anything, because it's a ridiculous scene. It's like watching a movie and it's being so bad that you're like, no, that scene, I'm walking away. That's too much. Unbelievable. And they're like, an unbelievable scene is happening down. Yeah, they're using language which they don't understand because they're telling you the truth when they say an unbelievable scene is happening, because it is unbelievable, because it's not true. You see, so real language is used even by liars, but you just have to look at the reflection and see if you can then discern the truth from it. All right. So sorry to get off on a tangent, but so I spent a lot of time helping people to understand the hoaxcraft. And the reason I did that is because I knew once, if you allowed yourself to get past that, then you would be able to understand the ideas and the truth of the structure that I try to explain. While using different methods, and sometimes I draw pictures, and sometimes I use numbers, because numbers is how you interact with this experience I talked about earlier. What time did you get up? How long did that take? How fast did you drive to work? How many minutes did you work in the week? Everything can be broken down to a number. How many times did your heart beat in a minute? Indicates whatever. They'll say, okay, if I can check your heart and I have a certain number that falls within a certain range of other numbers, your body is considered healthy. Do you see how everything can be broken down to a number? So then I try and discuss how I can show you the code of that within anything that's reflected from the system will have the fingerprints of its maker. All right. So then everything. So if you know that, and you say, okay, now I know the base code, everything that from that original designer, I can discern as being a lie, and that is what's considered the devil. The Lord of this world is the devil. Now, not the pitchforks and all that nonsense, but the spirit of the lie. It's a wavelength which is false, meaning it's a false word. And God said, and then of course the Lord said. So you have, let's say, the idea of competing frequencies going out, and people either become in tune with one or they find the straight and narrow. They found the truth through Christ, and they are led out of that deceptive wavelength, which is the rainbow, because it wants to be all inclusive. It wants to take in everybody, because then the most fragile thing in this place we live is the human ego, meaning that people's ego is the most fragile thing to them. They hold it like an idol in front of them. They say, thou shalt not be offended today. Thou shalt question everybody and determine if they meant offense by the words they used. So you're walking out with this spiritual, idol in your hands, and every experience you run into that day, you're looking to see if that person somehow went against went against you in some way. Were they causing conflict with you? Were they trying to get in your face? So almost every experience becomes a negative experience. So it's like, people, you walk around the store and you see how everybody's just kind of minding their own, like looking down when people walk by. You might get a hello, but everybody's anticipating a negative charge, because that's what they've been left in a state of mourning. So they're mourning. Their spirit is expecting a negative charge. So that's how they live their life, instead of expecting a positive reinforcing charge, which you should, because you're dealing with people that you can tell are giving off, the proper wavelength or the proper knowledge of the truth, which is Christ, by the way. Um, that alone, following that idea, that truth, that light, is what leads you out of captivity, because we are born into captivity. And a lot of us sometimes made a pretty comfortable life out of it, right? But however, you were still captive of a system. And while, for lack of a better term, we still have to give Rome its due, meaning that as I live in this place, I give Rome its due as far as they want, taxes for this, they get it. They want this much for gas, they get it. They want this much for whatever. I have no beef with that system, you know, because I'm in Rome, so I give them their due. I understand that. That is the give and take. And so, but it doesn't. What it doesn't mean is that I give them a single concern. I don't care what they do. I don't participate in any of that nonsense, voting, politics. All of that is the biggest show on earth. That is the biggest show on earth, on this plane we live on. All right, it's the biggest show. But like I say, in order to exist here and to do things that I want to do, which means taking care of the people I talked about, that I have to then take part in the experience, even at the borders of it, meaning that I have to go to work and I have to hear certain people talking about nonsense, which I know isn't true. But my recourse is quite simple. I just walk up and say, how you doing? And then I bring in a conversation, meaning I change the tone of something lighthearted or that will lift the spirits of those people around me, that their inner peace, maybe relieve tension or something that they were having. Because a lot of people, even if they're not involved in a conversation, if two people are talking about some dark subject, that person's overhearing it, so they're being physically affected. So you bring in lightheartedness, people start laughing, you leave them laughing, of course, and then, of course, at my work, I'm like, hey, who brought those donuts in? You wouldn't mind if I have one? And they're like, of course not, because they're still or sending back, reverberating the positive tone you brought into the room. So of course, now, yeah, go ahead. It's all a big nice thing. And of course, as you leave, unfortunately, you take that light, that life with you. As you go, that follows you around all day. You're in the light of Christ all day, so you're happy, you're good to go. However, your light of Christ is reflected upon those around you as you're with them. So that's when you share that. And for that, even for that taste of time, they're like, man, thinking back, if they took the time to think of the thought we talked about, they're like, man, I felt good for that 5 minutes talking to him. I liked that guy, I liked that girl. So then when you see him again, you're like, hey, man, how you doing? Or hey, what's up? And then you spend a little bit more time with them because you like the feeling that, and it's not even, it wasn't even personality, and there's no tension there other than just that person, you can tell, and you can't, they're not holding a sign. It's that you just can see in their eyes that this is a light that I want to stand in for a few minutes, right? So anyways, but that light is, of course, supplied by Christ, man. So that's all I want to say. You can just, starting today, I wanted to talk about, what is experience, and what we just talked about over whatever time we did, 28 minutes, it looks like, again with the numbers, is an experience that we just had together. And I hope that people find that time well spent, because you can never get it back. Every minute we spend, every second we spend in this experience, this existence, is ours to give away. But that is everything we have to give, our time to somebody else. So then, was that experience pleasurable? And then will that then allow me to, reflect on and kind of grow spiritually? That's what all you can hope for. Because most interactions you have out in that world, not this place that we're at right now talking, but out there where you run into all those different wavelengths, all the colors of the rainbow. When you run into that, if you allow yourself, you can be dragged into that dark light, and that is the dark light that's spoken about. So you're just dragged down spiritually, like emotionally. You get tired, and it's like then you witness people arguing. Do you see how you can quickly go that way if you allowed yourself? But that's not what we're about. We're about living abundantly in Christ. That's it, right? However you want to say it, however you want to approach it. I'm not going to say nothing to you. These are the words that I use because these are my witness. None of you are responsible for it. Only I am. So that's why each person should then speak their own witness, knowing that if not even one person in the room approves of you, you know that Christ does, right? That's what you know. You know that to be an absolute fact. So you're covered. So you don't have to pretend to be somebody. You don't have to wear a mask. You just are who you were created to be. And so you have I don't like certain words given to things, but you will find as you go down this path that your need to spread it, the goodwill, the good that understanding is such that you take time with real interaction with people, and when you see they're hurting, you take that time, which is that, like I say, is your biggest. It is your superpower. Your time is your superpower. You give that time to that person who's hurting. You absorb that pain from them by giving your positive energy and changing that subject, changing their mind from that thing that's hurting them into something positive. You leave them refreshed in mind, and all you expended at the end of the day is some of your time, which is your greatest gift to somebody else. It truly is, right? So, anyways, I've been rambling, I guess. But when I talk, I tend not to look at the um, text. I don't know if anybody's asking me anything in particular. I guess not. Yeah. So, anyways, today's been a great day. If you haven't already noticed, man, yesterday was super. Coming off one because I have 2 days off, so I had a great time on both days. And like I say, I'm just waiting to do this thing tonight, which is of course going to be another great experience. Because it's almost as if I've already seen it happen in my mind. Yeah, so now I don't have to worry about. There's no pressure there. I already know it's going to be great, right? So I just need to show up, and we're good to go. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's we're going to do. I know Pansit. We're going to do lumpia. I think somebody's bringing lechon, so that's going to be great. Um, we have what is somebody else making? Oh, somebody else is making like a bread pudding type thing because they're from England, so they're making that. She's from the the guy's from England, but his wife's from the Philippines. But she's been there so long that she has a kind of like an English accent, which is it's unique. I'll just put it that way. Um, then we're going to be doing what do we have for? We have she does what she makes, and she brings it every time. Is these custard little cravat custard deals where she melts the sugar right before she gives it to you. Yeah, it's you can't ask for anything better than that. So that's what I have to look forward to tonight. So I'm already anticipating, as you can tell. So what's up, Oliver? Patricia, Yeeman's in the house. I see everybody. Mr. Monk. All right. So if I guess that's it for me, unless anybody wanted me to say something to him about something. All right. So cheers, guys. We'll talk to you soon. I'll let you know. Actually, the next time I do this, I should come back and tell you about how our little get together went, because we won't be able to do it again until next week because everybody is off Sundays and Mondays. It just kind of worked out that way, so it works out great. All right. Yeah, so cheers. Y'all be blessed. We'll talk to you soon.